How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right, first, just again, want to thank you, everyone, for coming today. We obviously got some great news with Asia being named Player of the Year and Dana Sixth Man of the Year. I think it just speaks volumes for not only them as individuals, but our team. The one thing we have continued to talk about is, you can't have individual success without team success. And our players have bought into that. And I'm really, it's not only a great honor for both of these two young women, it's a great honor for our program, and every player had something to do with that. So, just really excited for them being back-to-back Player of the Year. I think is quite an accomplishment for Asia. I'm just really impressed. Not only is she a really good basketball player, she's a really good person. I know she has great relationships with her teammates. I know, coaches across the country that I talk to are really impressed with how she handles herself. Always very grateful, not only to the opponents that we play, but to her teammates. The first thing she says in the press conference the other night after scoring 47 was how her teammates got her the ball, set good screens, found her an open space. It was nothing to do about her. And that's what I think makes her as special as she is. Anybody with any questions? And we'll talk about the program.
I've talked to a lot of coaches over years, and sometimes they have groups that challenge them and they're hard to coach. Sometimes they have groups who are like push button, easy to work with. Where does this group rank among the groups you've coached?
I'd say we're right in the middle. I would say we are right in the middle. And part of it's not a bad thing. You've got players that you're trying to challenge to take that next step, to push themselves a little bit harder. And then you've got some that, they like to ask questions. And as I tell them, in the middle of a game at a timeout, if it's a 30-second timeout, we got 30 seconds. That's it, guys. So if I'm asking you to do something, you either trust us and believe us, or you're going to continue to question. And if you question, we're not going to be able to get an answer figured out in 30 seconds. And we're at a point right now that I really believe that this team trusts us. As coaches, they trust what we're telling them. They trust what we're asking them to do. And then at the same time, they're really starting to play for each other, which I've always said, when we've had our teams that have gone to Final Fours, Elite Eights, those are the ones that, if you get beat on a ball screen, instead of looking over to the bench going, man, I hope they didn't see that, they're looking at each other and apologizing. Hey, that's my fault on that missed box out. As soon as they start getting more concerned about letting their teammates down instead of trying to figure out if the coach saw something, that's when you've got a chance to be special. And I think that's where we are.
As far as Dana's award goes, she's a player that probably on 75-80% of Division I teams, she would be the star. What is it? How happy were you to see her get that honor?
Well, I was thrilled because, that's something that I talked to her about at the beginning of the year. I talked to her about the fact that, she had a great spring, a great summer, a great fall. I started her, I think, the first ball game or two. And then, I talked to her about what's best for our team. What's best for our team. AC's a returning starting point guard off a Final Four team. She's got a lot of leadership, a lot of experience, and she does some great things for us. But what Dana is able to do coming off the bench is she can change the tempo of the game completely. I think I tell them all the time. There's nothing better than when you get put into the game and your opponent's going, oh crap, she's going to guard me now. And I really believe that's what she brings. She can just change our tempo offensively and defensively, and she bought into it. She bought into, okay, what's best for the team? And for us, her coming off the bench is what's best. And I was just really excited because all the other coaches saw that same thing. saw what an impact she made for us.
Were you surprised that she didn't get any defensive honors in the conference?
Well, there are a lot of great players in our league. I think what really speaks volumes about our team, our program, is the past 2 years we've led the league in defense. In points allowed per game, we've led the league. I think we give up 54 points a night right now in ACC play, and NC State's the next best at 61. In the past 2 years, we've not had a player make all defensive team, which is fine because I told our kids, I said, what it says is you guys play great team defense. It's not just one person who is coming up with 5 or 6 steals a game. We defend as a team. We help each other out. If I get beat, I know I've got help. If I'm supposed to be in layers to sit here and make someone shoot instead of drive, that's what we do. So I think it's even more impressive. And I told him, I go, it speaks volumes about who you are as individuals that can come together as a team when you can be the best defensive team in your league and not have a player on the all defensive team. So I turn it around and take it as almost a compliment because we are such a good defensive unit out there.
Jeff, do you look at the same way when it comes to all ACC that Asia was the only one, despite the fact that you guys are second in the country, co-champions of the conference? I mean, is it, maybe insult is too harsh of a word,
No,
or is it a compliment that it's the collective that gets it done?
As I told him, I think it just speaks volumes of my coaching ability. We've got one really good player. We got one really good player and a bunch of scrubs. And look where we are. I mean, what else? I don't know. No, it's you know what? You've got Asia, who's obviously a spectacular player. And then, as I've always said, we might not win. If you put the starting 5 on each team on a board and you say, okay, you're playing for $5 million, who are you taking? Somebody might take Asia Durr and the 4 other players off the other team as individual talent. But the one thing that we've taken a great amount of pride in here as coaching staff and as a team is we try to find the players that are going to fit together into a puzzle. It's not necessarily just the best players in the country. We look to find out who is going to fit our puzzle the best. And you look at Erica Carter, recruited her from a high school program that I actually adore her coaches. They're up at 6 a.m. every morning running practice, and she's a part of it. Like if you finish through the high school that she went to at Long Beach Poly, they're tough. They're tough kids because the expectations that they have out there for their high school program. And we knew, hey, Erica was ranked in the top 70 out of high school. But it's okay. She fit what we were looking for. Bianca Dunham is not even ranked in any recruiting service. We saw her playing 2 tournaments and just loved how hard she competed. And we're like, golly, we asked some questions. She didn't start playing basketball until she was a freshman in high school. And I'm like, if she can do this already with only 2 years of playing, what will she do with some instruction? So we look for players that can help us become a great team. And you've got Asia where she is, and then you look at it, I think it's Dana and Sam maybe averaging around 10 points a game. You got Erica, I think, at 9.2 or something, and then Jazz at like 7, Kylie at 8. Like, who do you pick? Who would be the next one off our team that you say, hey, it's a no-brainer for first or second team? What makes it so much fun to coach is I say the same thing of when we play somebody, who are you not going to guard? Because everybody in that top 7 has had a night where they've scored, I think, 15 or more. So it's not like you're looking at one person in your top 7 where it's like, okay, they can't score. You don't have to guard them. But there's not a Maisha and an Asia in that group. So I'll never take away from what anybody has been honored with in our league because we have great players and great coaches. But it's exciting because Asia's the first one to sit there and tell her teammates, man, I can't believe that there was nobody else on the team. Like, they support each other. And then everybody else is excited for Asia and Dana. There's no resentment, which when you're together for 6-7 months, you might get on somebody's nerves after a while. And then all of a sudden they get honored for something. It's like, oh, here we go again. It's not the way this group is. They actually care about each other, and that's what makes them so much fun to coach.
With Dana, she's a player who probably could have gone a lot of different places, plug and play, immediately scored a lot of points. Did you talk, is this the role you envisioned for her when she came here? Or did you guys talk about it? And how, did she volunteer for it? How did it develop?
No, it's like any player. They all want to start. Everybody wants to earn that starting spot. And, for Dana, I thought she had a great freshman year. It's an adjustment for all kids coming from senior in high school to a freshman in college. The level of play, the expectations. But I thought towards the end of the year, she really handled it well. In high school, she was a volume shooter. She had to score a ton for her high school team. And then when she got here, I was like, hey, here's what we need. We need you to be more efficient. I want you to account for points. It's what I tell her all the time. At the end of the night, I want you to count for between 12 and 18 points a game. So, we played at Pitt, and I think she had 4. She had 4 at Pitt game? 4 points. But then she had 6 assists. So the way I look at the math, I'm like, okay, well, there's at least 12 if they're all 2-pointers, and then she had 4, so you've got 16 points. The problem is, I continue to remind these kids that because, it's human nature. When anybody calls them after a game, the first question is, how many points did you score? So I tell them, just say, hey, I accounted for 14 points. Because that's really what everybody looks at. How many points did you score? Well, no, it's not all about how many points did you score. We even go through with our guards and say, hey, you threw 10 perfect passes. Your teammates only made two of the shots. They were open for great looks. They only made 2 of them. You could have had 10 assists because you made 10 perfect reads. So that can be skewed some too of, you might be on a team getting 10 assists a night. Well, if your teammates are making the shots, you're going to get assists. If they don't make them, you still make the right pass. So Dana, she completely bought in to wanting to do what was best for our team. Because I think they enjoyed last year. They enjoyed the success we had as a team. And that's all we talk about is at the end of the day, your individual success will come because of our team success. And I use Angel McCoughtry as my example every single year. That in 2009, she ends up being the first pick of the draft. Marissa Coleman was the second, and Christy Tolliver was the third from Maryland. And if they beat us in the Elite Eight game to go to the Final Four, Marissa Coleman, in my opinion, is going to be the first pick of the draft. She had 42 the night before in the Sweet 16 game. But we go out, we win that game. Angel played well, but I think it separated her as, hey, look what she's able to do. Because programs at any level like winners. So I keep telling them, your individual success will come as we continue to have team success.
Going into the ACC tournament specifically, how much do you pay attention to the first and second round games, or is it a situation where you've already got enough film on these teams that you know exactly what to prepare for?
Well, we were hoping to get there today to be able to watch that first game with Virginia Tech playing in it, obviously. Our flight's been delayed, so we're not going to make that. But we will definitely be there tomorrow. This is the time of the year. You want to be seeing these games because everybody's adding something. You've given us 4 days of practice. Well, we've added about 10 things. So we're going to have some things people have not seen because I think it's important. You got to be able to come in and show somebody something you haven't run before. Because we'll go through every game we played and pull out the 10 things you ran the most throughout the year. And we'll have those guarded. But when you throw something new at us, it changes things up. So for us, we're fortunate that we're not going to have to play till Friday. So that first game, whoever we play, we'll be running some things that we haven't run all year. Now, if we're fortunate enough to win, whoever we're going to play on Saturday will have seen us run a few of those. So now they're going to have a scouting report and a plan to stop that. So it's important, I think, to go watch the games so you can see if someone has added anything.
3 games in 3 days is not really a natural challenge. It doesn't happen very often during the course of the schedule. You're going to need somebody chances are that you haven't needed a lot over the last couple of weeks. How do you prepare differently for that? Do you begin to kind of talk to these players that maybe didn't play a lot of minutes late going, that your number might be up?
Oh yeah, no, we've talked to Mikasa, especially. She's one that's played some minutes for us, and then she had that concussion at Virginia, and I think now she's starting to get back into her groove. But you've got Sagan and Lindsay. I mean, you've got players that are going to have to be prepared. It's one of those where, hey, if you can give me 4 or 5 minutes, it's 4 or 5 minutes come the third day, that now instead of a starter out there playing for 36 minutes, now they may have only played 30. And we're going to have to do a really good job as a staff at, managing the clock. If there's 5-10 to go in a quarter and there's been a dead ball, sub somebody out, sub a starter out, because you're going to get however long that play goes. And normally it's about 45 seconds to a minute 20 that you'll go without a foul being called or a whistle blown. Well, if I can get an extra 45 seconds plus the media timeout, it doesn't seem like much, but now all of a sudden the kid's rested for 3.5 minutes or 4, and then I can put it back in. So we're going to have to do a really good job of managing the clock. I appreciate it, guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got a bunch of scrubs, people.